Are you ready to unlock the secrets of becoming a highly successful real estate professional? In today's video, I'm going to share the 3 unequivocally important pillars that I've learned throughout my real estate career, and I'm hoping that maybe they'll help you too. I have learned a ton of lessons over the last 8 years. Some of them I learned the easy way and some the hard way. I've done this as a real estate team member, as a solo agent, as well as a team leader. And when I narrow them down, I come up with these top 3. What is going on? My name is Andrew, or of course you can call me Mongo if you're finding me for the first time. I am giving away every secret that I possibly have just to kind of push it out to you guys. It gives me a little warm fuzzy, and hopefully it's helping some of you guys out. So in today's video, I want to talk about the top 3 things that I've learned, the top 3 lessons, top 3 secrets, whatever you want to call them, that I've learned along the way. If you're finding me for the very first time, thank you for finding me. If you are a repeat viewer, again, thank you as well. If you do want to continue to get some of this knowledge and information, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the 3 lessons I've learned. Now, this first one we're going to talk about, I learned very early on. I'm talking first 2 weeks probably of real estate, brand new license, didn't know what was going on. My very first mentor. Now, this first little secret tip thing that I learned happened very, very early on in my career, and that is to take better care of people than what you are paid for. This goes into effect in all facets, whether you're running a team or whether you're solo. It means taking care of your clients, or it even means taking care of your team members, your admin, but it could also mean taking care of your vendors. Basically, everybody in your circle, everybody that you touch, you should take better care of them than what you believe you are being paid for. And in turn, you will inevitably get paid a heck of a lot more, and then you'll eventually be getting the amount of money that you were probably actually worth. When you are providing this level of service, you're going above and beyond. You're doing things that generally most real estate professionals or team leaders would not do. It takes you to an entirely new level and spreads out your referral business. It spreads that word of mouth. Again, whether you're a solo agent or a team leader. If you're a solo agent, your clients will spread the word for you. They will be the ones to tell more people, their family, their friends, their coworkers. If you're a team leader, taking care of your vendors, taking care of your agents, taking care of your admin, all of this is going to come back in droves. They want to follow a leader that is pouring into them, okay? If everything that you're doing is about you, they know that. It is very clear to them. So taking care of them better than you would take care of yourself or take care of your own income just to make sure that they're satisfied is going to pay off droves. Now, you need to do this within reason. Don't tank your company or don't tank your business in order to do this, obviously. But when you take it that next step, it's going to help a ton. So one of the other sayings that I'm always telling people is treat every client like they're your best and only client that you have. If you were to do that, that would be it. Game's over. Everything else I'm going to talk about today or in future videos will get handled on its own eventually. Now, that's not going to pave the way quick enough, so continue watching. But if you were to just treat every client like your best and only client, you will never go hungry. Your clients will take care of you. They will claw to get you more business. They will step out of their way in a conversation when somebody's talking about real estate to walk over to a couple at Chipotle while they're sitting down and eating and going, I heard you guys were talking real estate. You've got to call my agent. He took care of me. She took care of me. It was amazing. Here are all the things he or she did. Here are all the things he or she are still doing. So when you're taking this lesson learned with you, make sure that that's happening in all facets. This is from before they're a client, while they're a client, and after. Yeah, that portion after that they were a client that a lot of us real estate professionals forget about because we get super busy. We still take care of them even after the fact. Before, it's giving them all the information, giving them every tool that they need, letting them go if that's what they need to do. If they want to purchase a for sale by owner and you absolutely can't get in there in any facet of your imagination, you just can't sneak in there, this is a good way to show that little faith. So even in all 3 stages, if you take care of them in the beginning, they might not even do business with you and they will still refer business to you. That happens to me all the time. I took such good care of them in the beginning that it is 100% in their mind to make sure that they're passing any of their friends, family, or coworkers my direction. During the process, the same thing. And even after, not only is that going to take care of the sale on the back end, let's say they're a buyer, and they are eventually going to need to sell at some point in their life. Whether it's that or whether they're referring more people to you. They've gone through the whole process. They can tell their friends and family what it looks like. So treating every single client like your best and only client is a very good tip as well. So treating every client like they're your best and only client goes hand in hand with that first lesson. Now, the second lesson that I learned is leverage. Actually, I learned this one probably about the same time, but it didn't register in my head what I was doing. So early on in my career, I'm going to be honest, I'm sort of I don't want to call it lazy, but I look for the smart way out most of the time. Now, you pair that with impeccable work ethic, and you can build a heck of a business, right? Working smarter and harder. I know a lot of people are saying work smarter, not harder. Do both. It's going to do wonders for you if that's what you want your life to look like. Now, when I'm going through this in the entire video, this is not me pushing you to build a big business or a huge business. It's to get to your goals. And if your goals are to sell 24 homes a year by doing this 3 hours per day, so you can spend the rest of the time running around with the kids and the family and building a life that way, then that's fine too. You do not need to be this mega sales agent that's selling $80 million of property every single year or anything like that. That's my goals. That's what I'm doing, but that doesn't need to be what you're doing. So please keep that in mind as we go. So now talking about leverage. Leverage comes in many sorts, but two primarily. You've got people and you've got systems. I don't know which one comes first. It really just kind of depends on your skill set and what you need at the time. I started with systems personally, and I didn't realize I was doing this, at least not at first. So this looks like building out your CRM to where everything is automated and you don't forget anything, which when you forget things, it causes what we call in the industry lead bleed, right? Your leads are going to bleed out of your database because you weren't contacting them. So building out ways to make sure that you're always contacting them is very important. I've done videos on this. You can go back to my channel and I've got videos on this kind of stuff and I give it all away. In fact, I've even got checklists on how to build out your CRM. Go back to those videos, check them out. I'm not going to beat that dead horse, but that's just one way. Now, also automating your prospecting as much as possible without losing the effectability of it is also another great way to build in a system. And then any of your other processes that you are also doing. So these are things like your transaction to close process, your lead flow process from when they first come in all the way until they are ready to speak to you, those kind of processes. All of these can be automated as well. Spend a little bit of time doing this, especially if you're newer or you don't have these in place. These are really easy projects that you can do. Let me clarify, they're very simple projects that you can do. The actual execution of them does matter, but for the most part, you can dumb this down pretty easily and make sure that every system that you have, as soon as somebody's plugged into it and they're in that phase of the process, that everything should run smooth. This could look like automated emails when you're doing your transaction to close business. Heck, this could look like automated emails when they're becoming a lead, automated emails when they're out, automated text messages, voicemail drops, any of these things. Now, don't go overboard because you still need that personal touch. But there is a lot of this that you can definitely do automated. And when you're doing certain steps, you can have certain things automate out as well, or at least have the template so you're not reinventing that wheel every single time. So every single time something comes up and you're writing out, oh, this is what the appraisal is like, and here's where we're at, you can have an automated email template for that. Like, it's these kind of things that it's only shaving off 3 or 4 minutes each time. But if you've done it once, you're going to do it 20 times, you might as well automate it or at least put a system in place to make it a little bit easier. Now on the people side of it, this is how people build teams. Very few real estate professionals step into the industry, sell 10 homes, and go, I'm going to be a team leader, and then become wildly successful. A lot of that's because in that amount of time, they're probably not going to have their systems in order, which is going to make it difficult when they bring people on. Now, yes, if you've got the funds to do so, you're killing it in real estate and you're ready to pour some back into your business, you can hire the right people to help build those systems. So this is where I was going at earlier, where it's like, I don't really know which one's better, the people or the systems, which one comes first? That's an age-old question. I don't know, because the people can build those systems for you, but not everybody's going to be able to do that, and the systems tend to be cheaper as far as the pocketbook, so that you can put sweat equity into your systems and check equity into your people. Now, of course, that goes vice versa in certain aspects, but for the most part, that's kind of the way it is. So if you've got a ton of money that you're getting from your business, but not a lot of time, then add the people in that are going to add the systems to make things more streamlined and vice versa. So I do that by automating some of these services. This is where paid leads come in handy. That's just one method out of many, 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 many. So don't get stuck saying, hey, you have to pay for leads to automate this. There are a ton of different ways to automate this, but every system that you have, every prospecting idea or item that you are doing in your business, you can find a way to start automating some of that and shrink it down, make the systems more consistent. Very similar to the email thing that I was just talking about. If you're doing open houses, every single week you're doing 2 of them, instead of reinventing the wheel and doing a new flyer every single time and a new postcard and a new this, have templates. That's one way. And I think that's what most of us are doing anyway, so I don't think it needs to be said, but that's the kind of things that you should be thinking about. The more and more you get done here, the more pillars of business or avenues of business you can bring into your business, which will in turn grow it or give you more freedom. Now, if you've done the first 2 and you're treating your client like the best and only client or treating them better than you're being paid for, and then now you're starting to build in leverage, the next thing that I think you need to do, or while you were doing those 2 things, is running your business like a business. It absolutely amazes me the amount of real estate professionals I talk to that have absolutely no clue what their total income is for the year. That's actually the most common that people know. They're like, oh, I made $89,000 last year. I made $614,000 last year. They know that number, but they don't know the percentage that they're putting in salaries. They don't know the percentage that they're putting in lead generation, or even the dollar amount they're putting into lead generation. When I look behind the curtain of somebody's business, a lot of times they'll give me a number. Well, I'm spending $5,000 a month on Zillow. That's all of my ad spend. And then I actually look at it and they're spending all sorts of things. They've got this over here and they've got this and this one's not producing and they don't even know. Oh, I completely forgot. I actually had a conversation where I was looking on the back end of a team leader's business, and I'm looking at it and I'm asking him what this $700 per month charge was. And he goes, oh, I completely forgot about that. And I'm like, you're missing $700 a month. Now, no fault on them. Yeah, well, actually a lot of fault on them, but I'm not trying to call them out or anything. Sometimes you need this. They weren't running it like a business. They weren't thinking of it like a business. If that was a restaurant, they were spending $700 a month on shrimp and nobody ever bought the shrimp, they would stop buying the shrimp immediately. But here in real estate, a lot of times we get nickel and dimed, or we get these like for $50 a month, for $12 a month, $13 a month, and those things start adding up. And in this gentleman's case, it was a $700 a month. That's $700 if they were to put it into, I'm just going to make something up, some sort of online lead that produced a lead for every $10. That would be 70 new leads a month they could feed into their team. Even if they were only getting a 1.25% conversion rate, which is, depending on the lead source, very plausible, could also be very high, depending on the lead source. But that would be 1 extra closing per month. If that 1 extra closing per month brings in $5,000 into the business, then that $700 is actually costing them $5,000 every month. This is why it's so important. I hope I broke that down easily enough that you guys could follow. Like $500, $50, $80 a month stacks up over time. Now, I'm not saying be super prudent. I'm not saying watch every dollar like a hawk and just get rid of everything the second it's not working. That's not what I'm saying. You do need to give time for certain things to work. What I am saying, though, is you should know where all of your money is going. I know that I'm trying to get 12.9% of all of our income into salaries. I'm over that currently as I'm shooting this video. I have that in my head every day, every single day. It's crossing my mind. And every 2 weeks when I'm running my finances again and looking over everything, I'm recalculating that number. Where are we at? Did we get more money and now that number's a little bit lower? What's it averaged out to over the year? Where is everything going? My lead generation should be a certain percentage based on where I'm at and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to go into all of those numbers. You can find those online, or I'll do a separate video. Actually, that's what I'll do. I'll do a separate video at a later date because it does change over time, right? Like right where I'm at in my phase, 12.9% for salaries is solid, but eventually it's going to be 13.6%. And then it's going to drop back down again, just depending on the phase that we're at, how many agents we have, and what services we need to be able to provide to them. These are the kinds of things you should be thinking when you're running your business like a business. Now that I said all of that, how do we get there? Right? I don't want to just throw out this information and you're going, well, how am I gonna do this? Like that's a lot, right? Let's take a scale, let's scale it back, right? So let's talk about the percentages of income that comes into your business and what I personally suggest you should be splitting them up in. So here's what I do in my business. I split all of my banking into 4 different categories. I have an operating account, I have a tax savings, I have a normal savings, And then I personally have a philanthropy account as well because I like to give away a percentage of all of my income. And then, of course, whatever is left over goes into my personal. And every single month when I'm cashing in my checks, I calculate it all out and it goes into my calculator on Excel. And that's how I run my business. If I didn't make money that month, I don't get paid that month. I know not everybody's going to be able to do that, so don't hound me in the comment sections. But while you're at it, if this is helpful to you, go ahead and hit that like button and go ahead and comment down below of anything else I can add to this. So let's look at the numbers and how to break it down over time so that you can eventually get to that point where you can look at your P&L, your profit and loss statement, and go, okay, cool, I'm overspending here, I'm underspending here, so on and so forth. Try to pick the category that works best with you. These are not an end-all be-all. This is just kind of like a rough idea of basically what I did from the beginning until where I am now, based on the stage of my career that I was in. So you could tweak these a little bit as needed, and some of these numbers are going to look outrageous to you, and you're going to go, holy cow, dude, I can't even imagine living off of only X% of my income. But that's what we need to get to because you're running it like a business. If you are a brand new agent, this is the one that's going to hurt the most. These other ones actually aren't going to hurt. The numbers are going to seem like they do, but it's the first one that hurts the most because you don't know where your next paycheck's coming and you don't know if you can save all of this. So I understand that. This is not like a, hey, you have to do this or you can't grow. This is what I suggest as soon as you can get there. So if you're brand new, got 3 sales under your belt in the first 3 months, this might not be the best option yet, but once you start feeling a little bit, move to this as quickly as possible because it's going to get you out of that phase where you're just trying to push for the next deal and you don't know where your next deal is coming from and you're a little bit scared. You know, that little initial portion of your career. That's perfectly normal. That's part of the entire process. But when you are brand new, here's what I suggest. 25% into a tax account. Taxes beat agents up. We forget to do it, and then tax time comes around, and we get hammered. We don't have enough write-offs. And we're already kind of in a career where we get hit pretty hard. So 25% might not actually be enough. I would talk to your CPA either way, but 25% is what I suggest because most people will spend under that with write-offs. And if you're doing everything properly, doing everything kind of how I suggest, these numbers should be fairly accurate. Again, talk to your CPA because every person's situation is different. But 25% into taxes, 5% into savings, I know, 10% into your operating account. So that's actually what you run your business off of. You pay your dues with that. You pay your Supra if you guys have that, your realtor fees, your brokerage fees, any of your fees go out of that. And then anything left over should be poured into some sort of marketing. In the beginning, it's going to look like, oh, I've got $400 left over. I can do a mailer and I can mail out 800 homes, let's say. Probably not the best use of $400, but I'm just using that as an example. And then the other 60% you go ahead and keep. And then, if you're noticing that your bank account on your personal account, that 60% that you're keeping is getting a little bit bigger, move on to the next stage. Now, this next stage is for solo agents that are starting to get a little bit more established. You're starting to feel good. You've got some stuff coming up. Your pipeline is starting to fill up, and you're still a little scared, but things are working out, right? So for you guys, I suggest bumping up your taxes to 30%. Remember, if you don't spend all of it, you get to infuse it back into the company or bonus yourself. So putting that money aside, not that big of a deal, but just don't touch it until the end of the year. Once all your taxes are paid, it's fine. And that's going to go for the rest of these that I'm going to go through, right? Now you're going to double down on your savings. Go from 5% to 10%. So 30 taxes, 10% for your savings. Now you want to bump up your operating account to 20%. This is when some of that lead generation should start kicking up a little bit. You should be able to start bringing in more leads. There is going to be a period generally when you're ramping up lead flow that you're going to have to eat for a while, right? So eating means like you're going to be paying out money and not seeing any return. A lot of things might take 6 months because it's very difficult to get somebody in the door directly that's ready to go unless you're buying directly from Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those that are super bottom of the funnel, which you can do. Not my preferred because the money's just not there, or the conversion is just not there for what you're paying right now in my market. Your market may be different. And then that leaves the other 40% for you to take home. I know some of you are stopping right now going, 40% to take home? That's scary. Yep, and it gets worse. But don't worry, it also gets better in a certain aspect. 40% of this much is better than 60% of this much. It just is what it is, and as you grow, things get bigger and bigger. You make more and more income, so the percentage can be smaller, but you'll be fine. Just think of this like any CEO from a major Fortune 500 company. They're not taking home 80% of the money like we do in real estate pretty consistently. they're taking most of the time not even 1% if they're a Fortune 500. In fact, if it's probably way less than that. But point is, you're slowly building to that direction. Now, for those of you that you're stable and you're thinking about building a team, I'm talking to you guys right now. This is when you need to bump up your taxes to 35%. You're probably not going to need that. You would probably be safe closer to 25%. But again, CPA, that whole thing, right? Make sure I don't get in trouble here. But if there's any left over, again, you can keep it or infuse it back into the business. Now, are there going to be months where you overspend in your operating account and you need to dip into your savings? Yep, that's what it's there for. And if that happens for too many months in a row, you know you need to pivot. Now, hopefully by this point, you're starting to do at least a monthly P&L. This is where you're breaking down every cost. You can get a bookkeeper to do this fairly inexpensively, especially if you go to something like Fiverr or use a virtual assistant to do this. You can get this done for $3 to $5 an hour pretty easily. And they can break down everything for you. Where is all the money going? What category is it in? And then you can start watching it to see where you need to be and seeing where other team leaders are. And of course, this means that your take-home percentage is now down to 30%. Now we go into team leaders looking to grow. This is where I am at personally in my business. Now you'll notice here one of these numbers actually drops, and that's because of my tax liability is a little bit lower, and I've had it like that for 4 years. That's the only reason I've dropped this. If it's your first year, keep it at 35%, but I've dropped my tax liability down to 30%. This gives me 5% to put in philanthropy. I basically just moved the money because what I noticed over the last 4 years was I had a nest egg every single year. I had X dollars in here and my tax liability was here, so I had this much left over. So instead of constantly infusing that back into the business, I started doing the philanthropy, which I was doing anyway out of the money I was earning, that smaller percentage. Now I do it from the whole company. So 30% for taxes, 5% for philanthropy. You don't need to do that part. You can add that 5% to operating expenses or your taxes if you don't want to give your money away. I get it. It's just something I like doing. 10% for savings. Again, that didn't change. And then now we bump those operating expenses up to 30 or 35%. Again, on that philanthropy thing, if you're not doing that portion, you can bump it up to 35. And then I take home 25%. That's it. And this is, of course, if you're just wanting to grow. If you get to a certain point in your career that you're even, you're good, you might be able to tweak these numbers a little bit to make it make more sense for you, depending on what you're spending, depending on where you're trying to grow and things like that. I don't typically suggest going too much lower than this. And the main reason, well, there's two main reasons. First, to prevent burnout. You need to be able to make some money to put back in to enjoy your lifestyle and to kind of enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? Literally. Second, if you are planning to grow any further, you are going to need some of that 25% to pay the people in your leadership category, okay? Those can come out of operating expenses within a certain amount, but let's pretend I am a big team leader, I'm a mega team leader, I've got 50 agents underneath me and I'm getting burnt out, or I want to open up into a new marketplace. I need somebody to be able to run this. I'm not going to be able to do it alone. That's going to have to come out of that 25%. That is something I'm actively prepping for as we speak. So that's why I know this. So from that 25%, I might have to pay somebody 10 or 15% to run everything for me so that I can focus on the next venture, whether that's real estate or something completely different. That was a ton of information. Now, I personally read every single comment that comes down below on these YouTube videos, as well as my TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. So I'm going to throw all of that stuff here up on the screen, and you can comment down below any questions you have, and I'll reach out. If it's something that we don't need to be commenting back and forth on, or it might take a little bit of time, I will send you a Calendly link, and we can jump on a phone call. I love talking about this stuff. I love helping other team leaders and solo agents cross into this, because this career changed the trajectory of my family tree forever, and I want to pass it off to as many people as possible. So if you have any questions, or you want to find out why I moved my entire team over to LPT Realty versus where I was at before, all of my information will come up on the screen. Call, text, email, throw a carrier pigeon, throw a note on a football. I don't care how you want to get a hold of me. You can DM me on social and stuff like that too. And I also give away tips on my TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube Shorts. There's a bunch of different places that I throw this stuff. So use your platform of choice and you can find me for those quick tips. A lot of people really like my TikTok for that because that's what I'm doing, is 1 minute, like super quick tips and stuff. So anyway, now that I've got that all out of the way, if you guys have any questions, comment down below. I would love to chat with you, and I guess I'll see you guys next time.